What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, Jay Mill. Jay Mill, if you like. Let's get into it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. But yeah, so the Cowboys made a move earlier than I thought they would do. Honestly, letting go of Matt Eberflus today. That was something I expected, but I expected them to do it in typical Cowboys fashion, which is take a week or so and kind of just let time go by and then kind of fire them. Um, but hey, to get to their credit, they did something a little bit different. I was listening to Brian Broaddus a little bit earlier, and he was talking about how he thinks that the coach probably went in and said, "Hey, we gotta, make a move on this. We can't just hang around because there's other openings. Other candidates are going to be getting snatched up before we get a chance to actually possibly get the right person in here." So, if that's the truth, I like it. That's awesome. If that's not the truth, I still like it. That's awesome. I kind of believe that's the truth because the Cowboys typically drag their feet on things like this. We went and looked back at the Mike Nolan firing. That took 8 days after the season. Jason Garrett took like weeks after the season. So just knowing the way the Cowboys normally operate, they do usually take a long time to make these moves. But this year's been different, right? They took a long time to do Michael Parsons. But then when they decided that this wasn't working, they made a deal at the trade deadline for Quinnen and for Logan Wilson. Um, and then after that, when Trayvon Diggs, when they felt they had enough, they let him go. I will say the movements of the franchise are at least a little bit different this year. Does that mean that's actually going to result in any sort of success? That remains to be seen, right? You got to get talent on the team. What I liked about the move, like I said, with Trayvon in my last episode, was that hey, at least it forces their hand. It forces them to know, hey, this is something we have to address. They can't talk themselves into a crutch. Especially after they watched the way Kyer Elam just got finished working out. So they know they either have to address it in a meaningful way through the draft or in a meaningful way through free agency or in a meaningful way through trade. But they at least know that they have to do that. Same thing now with this defensive coordinator, right? They know, hey, we're exposed. We need to get this guy in here before free agency starts. We need to get this guy in here as quickly as possible so that we can talk to him about his scheme and what type of players fit the scheme. So that in free agency, even if Cowboys, and I'm just going to let you guys know now, most likely they're going to be bottom fishing. But even if they decide to bottom fish, at least they will have an idea of the types of players that the coordinator will want if they get them in here quick enough and get to make a decision. I don't think everybody's always been floating around Brian Flores' name. I don't think we're really going to have a chance at Brian Flores because I do think between Tennessee, between the Vegas Raiders, and between the Giants, I think those are all kind of attractive spots. I don't want him there, but if I'm Brian Flores, I'm looking at the Giants. If the Giants would hire Brian Flores, I think it would be a home run. He has all those defensive pieces already on the front seven. And he doesn't have, necessarily the best corners, but the way he was able to use his blitzing schemes, and he comes from the Belichick coaching tree where, we're trying to, be very week to week specific with game planning and nuanced and, blitz packages and coverages and showing you one thing, but actually dropping into another. With all that stuff happening, I think if the Giants got him, it would be a home run hire. Honestly, I'd probably be, happy for him, but pretty upset if that's the way they went. So I don't know if the Cowboys are going to get their chance to get Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator. And then on top of that, like we like to talk about here, bringing into it the human aspect. I mean, he's already been in Minnesota for a few years. He has his scheme going. Does he have a family? Does he want to uproot that family? Like, just to be at the same position for a different team? I don't know about that. So, Jim Schwartz is also another name that's out there that's been floated around a lot, but it looks like Cleveland is going to be looking to retain him. And honestly, if I'm a first year head coach coming in, all these guys, players that are already in place. The defense has been great for years. I don't know why I would not want to retain Jim Schwartz unless I just had a totally different vision for how I wanted this defense to be and didn't think he was the right coach to execute it. But the results speak for themselves. So I don't really think that would happen. Then Jonathan Gannon is another candidate that's been floated around. And he has some connections with Eberflus, funny enough, but also with Clayton Adams and with Schottenheimer. Same thing with Leonard from Denver. The linebackers coach over there, I believe, right now. He's definitely getting some interest as well. That's another name I heard float around. But funny enough, I also think that the Cowboys should do something similar to they did with their offensive staff and just kind of try to dig just a little bit of a layer below that. Maybe they could find their D'Amico Ryans. Maybe they could find the next Brian Flores. But I think I would want to try something fresher, especially since the Cowboys are talking about possibly wanting some continuity, right? Something that they haven't had in the last few years. And when I say that, I don't say I know there's Brian brought us, he's like, go out and find Jim Schwartz, right? And I get it because Jim Schwartz is a person that's been passed over for head coaching positions. Now that he actually tried it with the Lions and failed, he's not really getting much look anymore. But personally, I don't want to find a person like that of that status, if that makes sense. The idea sounds nice, but I'd actually want somebody else. I'd want more of, like I'm saying, the next Brian Flores. And what I mean by that is I want to find the young, talented mind in the league that, people are already talking about in circles, but they're saying, hey, man, in about 2 or 3 years, like they kind of were doing with Clayton Adams, in about 2 or 3 years, this guy's going to be rising up the ranks. This guy will be a head coach one day, but on the defensive side, right? Because what I want to do is I want to have a guy to develop, right? So that's the first thing, developing the coaches within, and then also having the young guys develop within his system with him so that you can give him 2-3 years of continuity. And by the time he's reaching his peak and other teams are looking at him for higher positions, you've brought him up in the system and these guys have had time in the system. And then hopefully the team is also peaking at the same time. And we get a chance to get, what the ultimate goal out of it is, which is a Super Bowl or I'll take an NFC title game. Shoot, just something, a deeper playoff run. And then also with that, hopefully they have, a young staff that maybe they'll be able to find his replacement right away. But that will help at least build your continuity. Or at that time, maybe you might be able to transition to a person who's being let go from a head coaching position at that time that has a similar philosophy to what you guys did under this one. But either way, that's the way I want to see the Cowboys go now. The way I think they'll go, I've even heard the name Gus Bradley floated around as well. I think, the way the Cowboys have traditionally done this is former head coach that is no longer a head coach that, can come in and be, the defensive coordinator. Now, that was Rob Marinelli. That was honestly their last few coordinators. Mike Nolan, the dude over in Washington right now, Dan Quinn. Then most recently Matt Eberflus. So that is their track record. So history says that. But again, like we talked about in the beginning of this episode, they've been doing some moves this offseason that are a little bit different than history. So I guess we'll see how that works out. And then also just want to let you guys know we'll be starting to talk about prospects for the draft too. But the first players I watched today were Arvell Reese. And then I watched Caleb Downs. And then I watched the running back Love out of Notre Dame. Man, that's a great place to start. I should have started at the bottom because, those guys, they were looking pretty good. Arvell Reese, looks like he's got some good instincts. Does look like he has some pass rush, but I think he has some second level ability. Second level is the first level of the defense is the 4 or 5 down linemen. The second level is where your linebackers usually sit. So, a lot of times if linebackers are good at blitzing and things in college, they'll project them to be more so edge rushers at the next level. Whether that's in a 3-4 stand up linebacker on the outside or in a 4-3, which you're handing the dirt or standing up. But he does have a little Micah Parsons to his game. He does have a little Brian Burns to his game, but I also see a little bit of DeMarvion Overshown, some like side to side capability there. So I don't know. I have to look at him a little bit more, but I just dipping my toe in today. Caleb Downs, I really like what I see from him. I didn't get to find much footage and coverage, so I'm still looking to unlock that part of his game. But as far as his stuff, coming downhill or filling at the line of scrimmage, kind of in that strong safety area, almost like a better Donovan Wilson. I didn't get to see him cover the deep third of the game, but I did get to see him covering tight ends out of the backfield and running backs and stuff like that. And then, like I said, playing downhill around the line of scrimmage during run plays or during blitzes to the quarterback. Looked like he was good at all that stuff. So once I find some coverage tape, I'll have a little bit more of an understanding on Caleb Downs as a complete player. And then one of the ones I was most excited to watch was Love. Man, dude, I know the Cowboys had a great thing going with Javonte Williams this year and how many yards he rushed for and honestly how physical he is. Man, I think it would do so much. And I know this, we should not be doing this. Okay, I'm going to preface this. This ain't smart, y'all. This ain't smart. If we're trying to build just the team, it's not smart, right? We got to put some resources into the defense. But hear me out. If you added Love to Javonte, so you sign Javonte and you draft Love in the first round, man, your offense is gonna be crazy. He gives me LaShawn McCoy, and actually they're very similar in size. He's 6 feet. LaShawn McCoy was 5'11". He is listed at like 214, 210, somewhere in there. LaShawn McCoy played at between 207 and 210. So, I mean, they are pretty similar size backs. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. It's football, but the inches matter, bro. Pause. It matters because being 1 inch, taller and just like 3 to 4 pounds heavier as a running back does help in the grand scheme of things. But what I mean by LaShawn McCoy is the shiftiness too with which he runs. Like he looks like just this exciting athletic freak. And all I can imagine is lining up against the defense and you have both of those backs in there. Put them both in there side by side. Javonte and Love. Let him go back there. Motion Love out into the slot and Javonte into the back behind Dak. And then on the start of the play, put that orbit motion. Go, man, you could do so many good things. And if you thought the offense was dynamic this year, dude, without making any more changes, and I'm talking about keep Terrence Steele, Tyler got in that left tackle, the offensive line the exact same it was this year. Keep Pickens, tag them, just keep the offense intact, right? Javonte, all them, and just drop this guy into it, and this offense would just go nuts. Like it would open everything up because he also runs behind his pads very well too. So the guy has some power to go with his speed. He's got the shiftiness. He's not a fumbler. He can catch the ball very well. What I have to find to get a better evaluation of him is pass protection. But still, I mean, like I said, I could put him and Javonte on the field at the same time. Trust me, Jake Ferguson was banged up this year. He's already signed a contract extension. You know what? Take 5 of Fergie snaps and just throw this guy in there. And it can be 2 pass downs, 3 rundowns, because either you're going to hand it to him on one of those rundowns or you're going to throw it to him on 2 of those 3, but that's it. You can just find 5 snaps for him and give him all of Malik Davis's snaps that you were giving Davis from, when he made his appearance till the end. Do the offense, just the dynamic, it's going to be dynamic. But I understand that is a poor use of resources, but that's my soapbox. That's my early pet cat. But I still have so much to go, and honestly, I'll be mentioning players all the time. But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit me up at knockersdownthebottom@outlook.com. Hit me down up at knockersdownthebottom@gmail.com. Any questions, any comments, you could leave them below. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Until next time, I'm your host, J Mill. J Miller, if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.